Welcome to the House of Ed Tech podcast. I am your host, Chris Nesi. The House of Ed Tech explores how technology is changing the way teachers teach and the impact that technology is having in education. I discuss technology that is changing our classrooms and schools, and I share tools and tips that you can hear today and use tomorrow. You're going to hear the stories of teachers, leaders, and creators just like you. The purpose? Whether you use it or not, technology is changing the way you teach and how your students learn. Good evening, everybody. It is 10 p.m. It is December 2nd, 2020, and day 4 of ISTE is just about in the books. If you are a new listener, a new watcher, welcome. If you're a returning listener and watcher, welcome back. This is the House of Ed Tech daily recap show for ISTE 2020, day number 4. Chris Nesi here with you until 11 o'clock. Now, the cool thing is, if you can't stay the whole time, that's cool. I get it. I'm making these available as bonus episodes of the House of Ed Tech podcast. Now, if you're like, wait a second, what's that? Here's what you do. You go to chrisnesi.com/go, do it on your mobile device, and subscribe to the podcast. My Black Friday special is going strong. I'm giving away all of the previous released episodes, all 168 episodes of the podcast. They're available for free right now. And this just might be crazy on my part. I'm going to give away all future episodes for free as well. So chrisnesi.com/go, get yourself subscribed, and you'll be able to listen back to all these bonus episodes, and it's just going to be a whole lot of fun. For those of you who are checking in live, maybe you're watching on YouTube, maybe you're watching on Periscope, maybe you are watching on Twitch. While you're doing that, feel free to leave comments wherever you are watching, because I could pull them up on the screen just like this, because I know Batsheva Frankel is watching. She says, "Hey, Chris," and you see it on the screen. My man from New Jersey, Scott Titmus, checking in on the Periscope. I could put it right up on the screen. Jeremy also checking in, letting me know that thanks for doing this for those that can't participate with ISTE. Yeah, as accessible as it is, it still might be inaccessible for some people. So what is my hope for tonight's edition of the recap show? I would love to talk to you in general, but specifically, I would love to talk to you if you are an ISTE poster session presenter, because as I understand it, a poster session is like a session, but session light. So it's, as I understand it, you're repeating yourself a lot and people normally kind of pass through. And I'm not really sure what that looks like here in the virtual environment. So if you're a poster session presenter and you're checking in, I want to talk to you. We'll take your calls. If you had other things you want to talk about tonight as well, that is A-OK with me. If you want to join the show, go to chrisnesi.com/join and you can do that. And as I look into the queue, real quick, what's up, AJ? AJ Bianco, my podcast compadre. I'm repping the podcast PD gear tonight. There you go. Great shirts available with our cute little animated faces, because you wouldn't want my actual face on a t-shirt. AJ maybe, Stacy maybe, me definitely not. But as I look into the green room, and she's shaking her head because she knows I have a face for radio. No, you can't get out of it now. Mm-mm. Let's welcome Batsheva Frankel. Welcome back.
Hi. I was shaking my head because you keep saying that, and it's so not true. Like, well, you could be an actor. No, totally. I mean, you're just ridiculous. But yes,
I could be an actor because even the vision impaired need to see movies.
No, stop putting yourself down. So yeah, I did a poster session today, and so I know you wanted to talk about that, so I thought I would share my experience a little bit.
I would love that. So absolutely. But before you get into the details of your specific session, as someone who has presented a poster session, what is that process like, and what would inspire somebody to participate in ISTE in this capacity?
Okay, so a little background. When ISTE was supposed to be live, I was supposed to be doing an interactive session, like it was a whole different kind of a session. It was very interactive kind of a thing, because my topic is about blended gamification and a game that I teach called Battle of the Big Ideas. And it's a really fun thing. So it's perfect for doing that. But when they went virtual, they asked me if I would do it as a poster instead. And of course, like everybody else, I did not know what that meant. And the way you described it is the way that I thought it was going to be, and the way that they talked to us about it, that it would be this kind of thing. You would set up your poster and people could come by at any time and look at, what you're offering and, what you're talking about and so forth. And then you would sort of just be in this room answering questions, and people would kind of come through, and they had a limit. They said originally, I think they were limiting it to 15 at a time, and I think they opened it up a little bit. And then, people would come through at different times. So that was exactly what was in my head. And then I went to some other poster sessions thinking that that's what it was going to be like. And it wasn't at all like that. It was actually them doing a regular session. It's an hour long. You have an hour long. And like you said, I thought it was just going to be people coming in and out, like, as if you were standing in a room and people just come in and chat with you for 5 minutes. So that's how I set everything up originally. But when I saw some of the other posters, and there were some really good things out there, and I went to their presentations, I was like, oh, no, they're actually doing a full presentation, like as if it, So I completely worked on mine today, and I completely revised everything that I was going to do, and I did it like that. And it was fantastic. It was just like doing a session. I don't know if that was what I was supposed to do, but everybody stayed for the whole time, and it was really cool. And I did the whole thing, and it made it very interactive, and, asked a lot of questions and got some response. I mean, it was actually really, really nice, and not at all what I thought it was going to be. So I don't know what a poster session is, people. That's my answer.
So based on that, was the experience you had and the opportunity you had better than what you thought it was going to be?
Actually, yes. Much better. I think it was good. Not only was it a better experience for me, but I think it was a better experience for everybody who came. I think it was a much deeper, richer experience. And it was a little bit closer to what it would have been like had I been able to do it in person the original way. So I'm actually fine with it, because in a way, it was kind of like having two things in one. You have the poster, but the way I ended up presenting it and the way other people presented it, it was like having your own session, and they could go back and see, all this, because we had to make this video that was supposed to be under 5 minutes, that kind of introduces the idea. That was the hardest part for me, to be honest, because I couldn't keep it under 5 minutes, and I just edited the heck out of it and finally got it to be like 4 minutes and 58 seconds or something crazy. But I looked at what a lot of other people were doing, and everybody kind of approached it differently, which was really, really interesting, and as it should be. And it was really cool. So at the end of the day, it ended up being way better than I thought it was going to be.
That's good to hear. And Rochelle Dene Poth checking in the chat also says she did hers very similar to the way you did it. So
yep.
Now we know at least 2 people did it wrong. No, I'm just kidding.
If I'm in the same company as Rochelle, I'm good. Like
there you go.
Very happy with that.
Nice. So also, Rochelle, since you also did a poster session, if you want to hop on after Batsheva and talk about what your session was about, certainly I want to amplify the voices of people who did poster sessions. So Batsheva, what was your session about? What was the poster?
So as I was saying, I have this blended gamification approach called Battle of the Big Ideas. And it's kind of mostly for humanities courses. And it's just a really cool way to gamify in a very deep way the curriculum. And it's for middle school to high school. And I use it for literature. I've used it for history. There's other schools that are using it for history. And I think a couple other are using it for literature. And it's just a way to really, and I'm going to share it with, it's actually going to be up on my website in the Overthrowing Education website. My podcast is Overthrowing Education, and it's going to be on my show notes for my most recent episode. So if anybody didn't get a chance to go to ISTE and can't see the post or whatever, you can kind of see what it's all about. And anybody who wants to contact me to get more details can find out. It's really malleable and adaptable to anyone's curriculum. It gives space for teachers to really mold it around and use this approach however it would work with their students in their curriculum. And, you know, it's just a kind of a framework for them, and it's super fun. So, yeah.
Let me throw out a hypothetical, just off the cuff. Let's say you are a almost 40-year-old high school social studies teacher. You live in New Jersey, maybe you podcast, and you're interested in gamifying your classroom.
You're asking for a friend?
I'm asking for a friend. What should he or she be thinking about?
So part of this approach is really tracing bigger ideas or topics throughout history, also through literature. But since your friend is a social studies teacher, we'll take that. So what are some of the bigger ideas that kind of weave through? And then each of those big ideas or topics is a team. And it's actually the whole game is like fantasy football meets, you know, big philosophical ideas or big thematic ideas. So, although some people in my session said also fantasy basketball, fantasy, you know, whatever the games are. So the idea is that you take these big themes or topics and they become the teams, and the students get to pick which team they want to be on, which gives them a lot of choice to, you know, do something that they're really interested in. And they trace that through your different units. So if you're doing social studies, it might be different eras that you're teaching. Like, give me an example of what this teacher might be teaching, like one grade, and I'll give you an example.
He's about to get into the Enlightenment philosophers.
Nice. Okay. So you would take that time period of, let's say, the Enlightenment, but the themes that you would have been following before that, like, I don't know if you started with Renaissance and Reformation or whatever it is that you're doing, and you kind of follow it through. And so a team might be innovative ideas. A team might be technological advances. A team might be freedom. A team might be religion. A team might be culture. A team might be, you know, you could do either like sort of the more philosophical ideas or the more like economics and, you know, all of those things. And so innovative ideas and thoughts. So those are the teams. And then then the team has to draft what we call players throughout the game. So the players can be anything like a person, a place, a thing, an event, a monument, you know, and I'm doing specifically for social studies. Literature is a little bit different. So for each era or each unit that you're studying, that's a round. We call that a game round. And the team has to draft the best player that represents what their team is in that era, right? So if we're doing, let's say one of the examples that I give is, I think it's like Renaissance, and the example is what's the player is a thing, an event or a thing, and what's the best, and the team is social classes. So what's the best player that would represent social class during that time of the Renaissance? And that team picked the Black Plague. And they have to come up with kind of a thesis idea, and they have to prove it. But the way they do that is in an arena. And the arenas that's where the kids get really, really creative. And that's where all your technology comes in, because an arena is either a newspaper article, an obituary, a museum exhibit. And again, these can be remotely done with technology. They can be done tactily if you get actually inside a classroom. It can be an artifact. It can be, an artifact would be one of the players, but it could be a debate. It could be a song. It could be, whatever I have a list of things, but teachers can come up with other things. And that's the way that the students express their sort of thesis idea, and they do research, but it's scaled down. So, I mean, you could do it with 6th graders, or you could scale it up and do it with 12th graders. You know, it doesn't really matter. You know, the teacher can scale it however they want, but that's kind of the basic idea. And then both the students and the teacher score each of them, and the teams aren't playing against each other so much as, you know, trying to keep rising up their own score. And then of course the teacher, whoever that almost 40-year-old teacher is, would give them prizes of some sort, whatever those goals. They have certain goals that they want to reach points wise and so forth. But there's a lot of analytical and critical thinking in this game. And also, like, when the students are scoring the other teams, they have to, as a team, score another team. They have to really think about, how did they present their argument? Did they support it well? You know, all of those things that we want them to think about. So, you know, what sources did they use? All of those. So, yeah.
So when you're scoring this, that you're talking about, and it does sound fantastic. So when you talk about scoring, so would that be the rubric that, you know, the teacher comes up with, or is that something that the students and the teacher could work on, or would the students come up with that themselves? What the criteria are? What does that look like?
So the answer to that is yes.
Okay.
It's whatever you know, there are some situations where the teacher really just needs to come up with. There's some situations where it's perfect for the teacher and the students to really think about it and come up with it themselves. And if you have that kind of a class who you can say, like, you know, come up with the criteria. Let's see, what is it you think? You know, and as a teacher, you can kind of double check in and maybe ask some questions and guide them. But I think the more you're able to let the students participate in the experience, the better. And for the teams, they also have to create a logo and have a motto for their team. So they really have to think about, like, visually what represents that idea. Do they want that to be an abstract? Do they want it to be graphic? Do they want it to be concrete? So there's just a lot of kind of thought in it, and it's fun. And, you know, so if you want to share more information with your friend, I will be happy to give it to you.
Excellent. I have more questions though, so I'm going to take advantage of this.
Sure.
So is this something that you would use for assessment, middle of the unit, introducing a topic?
Yes.
Where do you think this fits in? Oh, so it's all yes.
All of the above. Yep. So it helps introduce, you might do like a short kind of intro of a unit. Depends, you know, on your students. Like one of the schools that I'm doing this with, the history teacher does like a brief overview of that time period. And then the teams get to work and they start their research. Sometimes the teachers may need to provide and curate the research, especially for the younger grades, because they can't just let them loose out on the wild, crazy internet. You know, they really need to kind of help curate or guide them for some sources that may be helpful for them. And those could be videos, those could be articles, they can be, you know, original source material, whatever it is. And but so that's kind of the beginning, and the middle, which is, you know, getting the content, understanding, researching, learning the content, and then the round, you know, the product that they create, the arena that they produce and they express what they've learned, is a perfect assessment for whether they got it or not. So it's all of that.
And one last question about the final product. Is that something where are they sharing it like a traditional presentation to the entire class, or would it look more like, or could it, and you might say yes, could it look more like, say, a science fair where they're all kind of presenting simultaneously and maybe you have groups moving around and interacting with all the different things that have been created?
Right. So it depends on what the arena is. The arena could be a presentation, and then it either in person, exactly like you said, or presentational. I mean, or, you know, if it's remote, it could be, you know, done like that. Or it could be, you know, the arena could be something that it's a poster walk gallery and you use Padlet, especially if you're going remote or you can't all be in the same room or whatever. You know, you could do a real poster walk and you can have them create posters. And then, you know, but it depends on what the arena is. And the arena matches what the player is. So I have it, I can, share with anybody who wants to see it. I can show you kind of how it's set up, where you see what the era or the piece of literature is, who the player is or what the player is, and then what the arena is. So for instance, if the player is a character or a person, then you might have it be an obituary. So then they write up an obituary, and you can have those, if you're doing it remotely, or even if you're not, you can have those digitally, or you can have them written up if you're doing it tactily. You can have them written up and then people can sort of pass it around or whatever. So it really just depends if it's a debate or if it's a song, right? You can post them. You can use Flipgrid. You can use, this is where you really get to use all the different technology. If you're going to do a museum, ThingLink is amazing because you can create like as if it was an exhibit, and people can just click on the different things in your exhibit to learn why you thought this was the best player, and you can kind of prove it with an article or, all that. Anybody go to ThingLink if you don't know how it works. It's really cool. You could do that with ThingLink. You could do, things on Wakelet. You could have like a whole gallery on Wakelet. So there's so many Canva, there's so many tools out there, Adobe Spark, that you can use to create all of these, what I call the arenas are. And so it just really depends. So.
Okay. We got a question in the chat from AJ. AJ asks, I like the idea of a gamified classroom. To sell it to staff and families, what's the overall benefit of a gamified classroom to students and teachers?
So that's a fantastic question, AJ. Of course, he asks a good question. Here's the deal. There's a lot of different kinds of gamification, and some of it is not as helpful. Some of it is not that interesting. This particular way of doing it, and there's other ways, game-based learning, that are so fantastic. And what they really do is they go deeper than the learning might even get a chance to. They uncover more content in a way that students can connect to it and relate to it. And so it teaches them critical thinking and analytical skills in a way that they wouldn't if they're just like reading the textbook and doing the worksheets and hearing lectures and all of those things. Not that anybody out there does that anymore, but it really helps. And I think that what I've done this before, where I actually had the parents come in and play the game with me. We played like a little mini version of it, and they were just like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. So you could try that, try to play around and show them how it works, and they can see the benefits of it when they actually engage in it. I hope that helps.
I think that does help. Like with anything you want to try in your classroom, you have to create some buzz, create a little excitement to get that buy-in.
Yeah.
Talk with your administrators, talk with your students about it. If you're doing, say, a newsletter home to parents and things like that, promote what you're doing.
Yeah, actually also, and if you send home, like if you can use many tools, Padlet, Wakelet, whatever, and send and share what the students are creating. I mean, the parents can't help but look at that and be like, wow, that's pretty amazing. They're learning how to support a thesis. They're learning how to develop an idea and how to support that idea, and then how to express that idea in a really amazing way. So those are great skills I would want my kid to have.
Yeah. I'm going to take advantage of AJ because he dropped another good question. Does the gamified aspect lead to too much competition, and can that take away from the learning? Now, I think you alluded to that before, but go ahead.
Yeah. Well, I think that I agree with that. I have a hard time when the kids, there's sometimes when that really works for students. So I can't speak for all students. And there may be some teachers who take this game and they make it more competitive. The reason why I set it up the way I did, so that their teams are not competing against each other. In fact, they want to lift each other up. They want to help each other succeed. So the teacher has to structure it in a way where the students are scoring they're scoring the other teams and the teacher's scoring the other teams, but you don't want to make it competitive. Otherwise they're just going to give bad scores to the teams because they'd want to win. So that is totally antithesis of what we want. We want everybody to lift each other up and try to be like, wow, look what they did. I got to up my game not because I'm competing with them, but just because we need to pull our points up. We want to keep our points up for ourselves, for our own team. And that's why the teacher sets like goals. If you get this many points, you get this prize. If you get this many points, you get this prize, that kind of a thing. That still has a little bit of an edge of competition. And I actually think it makes it fun for the kids and gives them like a little extra something. But, even that doesn't work for every teacher in every classroom. There's other ways to do it, that don't have that aspect. But I think that makes it like a little bit fun. And,
to me, as if I'm interpreting it, it sounds like it's not so much about who's coming in first, second, or third place, but it's more about, leveling up and unlocking achievements or rewards that it does. Like my team might unlock it today, but your team might unlock the same thing tomorrow. So it's not like there's only one trophy out there that we're trying to achieve.
100%.
We can all achieve everything. It's just what rate are we moving at? So it comes down to like mastery and other official education terms.
Exactly. And teachers can, look, everybody knows what works for their classroom. One of the things I try not to do is do something like, this is the way it has to be done. This is how it works. It's not. This is a framework that I offer up because it works. And I want teachers to take it and make it their own. They know who their students are. They know what their class is like. They know what the curriculum is. So, what works really well for one class might not be the exact same thing for another class.
Well, now I can't do my next segment, which was Mr. Nessie says, this is how you do it.
Sorry, dude. I know that's not what you're like. But,
yeah, no, definitely not. And Jeremy asks in the chat, could this work in an English classroom?
Oh, so that's what I'm an English teacher, among other things. So yes. So the way I have all of these examples of the way you do it through literature, and it's the same thing. You just find out what are the topics or themes, and you can either do like big thematic things. Like I teach a Much Ado About Shakespeare class. So we have like these big philosophical themes that run through a lot of the plays. And so those are the teams. But I also did it through another class where I was doing a wide variety of kind of world literature. And so for that, I had other things. Let me see if I can give you an idea of teams for literature. Could be things like personal struggle, isolation, innovation, magical realism. I mean, depends on what books you're picking, whether these make sense or not. Inequality. You kind of have to look at like what are the things that kind of run through the literature you're doing for that year. You can also just do it for one book and do like, rounds for a couple of chapters, or each chapter, depending on how ambitious you are. And you could do it just the themes that are running through a book. But you could also do bigger ideas like for my Shakespeare, I did meaning of love, power, fate and free will, self-knowledge, marriage, because Shakespeare certainly has a lot to say about marriage. It's different in Macbeth than it is in Midsummer Night's Dream. So those kinds of things. So that's a lot of the way I do it for that. And then the players are things like quote, character, quote, symbol, imagery, things like that. Those English things we love to talk about. So, yeah.
Very cool. So, Batsheva, you are also a podcaster. You alluded to that at the beginning of our conversation. Please promote your podcast.
So my podcast is called Overthrowing Education. And I'm very proud to be part of the Educational Podcast Network. And it's really fun. It's just a really fun, engaging, and hopefully inspiring show. We do a lot of kooky things, like I have a game show that every guest plays, and I do fake commercials that are, commercial parodies that are silly and fun.
Let me just say, the commercial parodies, those are the best. I don't want to say that's the best part of the show, because the actual meat and potatoes are the good. That's like what people are there for. But your parodies, they're phenomenal.
They're so much fun. That was my drama background. I was a NYU drama major, so I got to put it to use somehow. So that was it.
And I still think there should be a whole episode that is one long faux infomercial.
Oh my gosh. Done and done. I like that's like my April 1st episode. I think is going to be just one long infomercial, and you'll have to be a guest on it. And I'll have lots of guest voices. Yeah. If anybody has any, I do fake educational products that we wish were real. And I try to match it with whatever the episode is about. But if anybody has any ideas of a great educational product they wish were real, shoot me an email and I will make it happen. So it's really fun. Nice.
And Batsheva, how can people connect with you?
So Batsheva can I type it somewhere? Are you going to type it for me? Batsheva at newlensed.com.
It'll be in the show notes.
Okay. Or Batsheva at overthrowingeducation.com.
Awesome.
One of those.
And what's left on your agenda for ISTE the rest of the week?
I'm going to try to enjoy some sessions. And I actually am giving workshops for other places. So I have to unfortunately cut into my time a little bit. But I really want to get to has anybody done, I want to hear about if anybody's done the expo. Because my whole thing that I was looking forward was going on that huge expo floor that is just overwhelming and amazing. And so I haven't done it virtually yet. So if anybody's ever done that, please let me know. I want to know how it is. I'm going to try it tomorrow. That's what I'm going to do.
There you go. Talk about it in the chat. If you've hit up the expo,
yeah, I want to hear.
/join. Again, other people who have presented poster sessions. If you want to hop aboard, I would certainly love to chat with you. And Batsheva, I thank you for
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And we'll see you soon.
Nice. Thanks for coming on a couple times this week. I really appreciate it.
Pleasure. Thank you. How do I remove myself?
Oh, I got it.
It's like those goodbyes that you have with people and then you keep walking the same direction and it's really awkward after you've said like this long goodbye. That's what that was like. For those of you who are out there just listening to it, that's what it was like. All right. Let's try it again.
I'll trim it.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, Batsheva. The incomparable Batsheva Frankel. Again, her podcast is Overthrowing Education. So you definitely want to subscribe to her podcast and check it out. The commercials are great and the content is even better. All right, let's check in on the chat. Mr. Nunes, Scott Nunes, he made it. Scott, you better call in. chrisnessy.com/join. We got to meet at the last ISTE. That was a lot of fun. And what else is going on here in the chat? Where we got people checking in from. Let's recap that. We got Kira from Raleigh, North Carolina. North Carolina is a wonderful state. We got Denver, Colorado in the house. Global Youth Media. Now would be a good time to call in. chrisnessy.com/join. It is 10:33. We've got less than a half hour until the top of the hour. And I just want to say that it has been a lot of fun to create these episodes for you and not really knowing who's going to call in and what topic is going to, show up and be shared. But it has certainly been a fantastic week. And I'm looking forward to, I think, 3 more days of this. So hopefully you're enjoying this as bonus episodes of the House of EdTech podcast. I know it might be overwhelming in your feed, but the beauty of podcasting is it is time shifted at your convenience. So if you don't listen to them this week, they'll still be there. And I appreciate the fact that you are subscribed. Now, if you're not subscribed, shameless plug for the show, go to chrisnessy.com/go and it'll subscribe you. And let's go back to the fake phone lines and a man who is dressed way better than me.
Hey,
Scott Nunes.
Hey,
how are you, Scott?
Chris, this is so cool. I love what you're doing.
I love awesome. What you're doing, Scott. I love what you're doing.
Hey, thanks. You actually inspired me to use StreamYard tonight, and I did my first podcast on Facebook Live tonight. That was awesome.
Yeah, baby. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
So encourage the listeners to put into practice whatever they're hearing from you. And like you said, we met at the last ISTE. That was great. You had a podcaster meetup, which was awesome. I met so many great people there, and I'm still friends with them today. We're still conversing and getting through the pandemic together.
You know, actually, as you're talking, I'm thinking, I know somewhere where I keep my stickers. I've got your sticker somewhere. Do I?
If not,
no, you're gonna have to send me one.
Miller's.
Scott.
Oh, it's there. It's there. I see it. The TNT EdTech podcast. It's by Aaron's sticker. There's a globe above Tinkercad.
Am I showing the right side of my trash can?
Yeah. So it has
there it is.
Right there. Yep.
I was looking at your logo on the screen there with the.
Yeah. This is the new one, Education Today. So
I need an Education Today sticker.
Yeah. Okay.
But
I'll have to
by the way,
slide in your
for those that
and send you one.
For those that watch, this is where I have a garbage can. This is where I put all my stickers. Because I don't want to deface my laptop. So I'm like, I'm never going to get rid of the trash can. So there you go. That's where I put them.
Yeah, I started a poster board because I didn't want them on my laptop either. And then I ran out of space quickly everywhere else. I'm like, I saw my buddy Greg Eilers. He has a wall. I'm like, I can't do a wall. Let me do a section of a wall. So I got one of those giant poster boards and started putting them all there. And now I have 2 or 3. So that's kind of nice. I like that. I
like the poster idea too. I like that. That's a good idea.
Yeah. And you can take it with you. So I'm in the home office. I don't have it. You can actually see it. Let me see if I can point here. It's right there. There's a poster board right behind this bookshelf here. I haven't put it up because it's
prominently displayed behind another piece of furniture.
Yes. It's waiting to go to the real office. But I have not spent much time there at the real office. So it's waiting. It's tucked away. I know it's there.
There you go. So, Scott, how is ISTE going for you? Presenting, poster sessioning? What are you bringing to the table?
So, bringing to the table, I am behind. Keeping it real, I need to go back. I've only checked out 2 sessions. One was my own, so I had to be there, and that was an Ignite session. Jody Green had hers, and I presented along with Paul Gordon, Alexa Lapp, and Liz Gallo, and we presented on 3D printing around the world. We lost some people from around the world, so it was really just the nation. But initially, when we had submitted, we had, I think, an educator over in the UK, one in Africa, and one from Australia. So we were from different continents. That was really cool. It didn't happen the way we wanted, but it was still great. And I love the speed of those. So I presented for about 1:15, and that was it. And it took me about 2.5 hours to plan those 5 slides because I had to get the timing just right and be so precise. It was a big challenge, but I loved it. I would do it again and recommend it to anyone who wants to kind of start small.
There's only like one other thing I could think of that we could plan for 2 hours and then it's only 1:15.
Yeah. What's that?
Well, this is an education podcast, Scott. Come on now.
Yeah, that's true too, right? Especially when editing the video on this. Talking to Josh yesterday in our Edupodcasters roundtable, what did he throw out? 4 to 6 hours for a 12-minute video. Wow, that's some dedication. I'm not there yet.
That's why I do audio.
Right. That was
and I'm not going to edit this video.
Right. And that's what I loved about going live on Facebook Live today. I don't have to edit this. I mean, I will. I'll upload it traditionally, but I don't have to edit the video. It is what it is. There are tons of imperfections. I had on my real estate agent, I found out the #1 real estate agent in California. And we're not in a great populous, here in Modesto, California, it's like 300,000 people. So he's beating out people in the Bay Area and in SoCal, which is just amazing. He knows how to hustle. So we talked about that and the educational side of his journey. So, check that out. Other than other ISTE stuff, I checked out the TED Ed talks. Those were really good and impactful. I really need to go back and check out Claudio Zavala's session. I want to check that out. Want to check out the keynotes as well. And then just looking at getting more info for my new job. So as an EdTech coach, I want to start exploring those ISTE standards a little bit more, familiarizing myself more and more with those. Those are kind of new to me. So really finding out what EdTech coaches are doing. Those are sessions, I really didn't do before, but are much needed right now, especially when I have to pivot on a dime, like, oh, you got to learn this new curriculum or this new tool and then share it out with everybody. And by the way, we need a training by Tuesday. It's like, okay, I can do it, but I got to do it right away. And then laying out the training for adult learners. It's a little bit different than, in the classroom.
Yeah, we adult learners, we could be a tough crowd.
We can. Highly critical, but we love swag. And so, huge shout out to all the EdTech companies that give me swag. Share it out with my teachers, and it keeps them engaged. It's like that little carrot to keep them going. Like, hey, if you stay till the end, guess what? Not only do you get credit, but you get entered in a drawing for swag, or if you answer questions, you can get swag. And usually everybody gets something, even if it's just a sticker. So I got a huge stack right here ready to go. Got a bunch of Schoology stickers, or I think it's that way, ready to go for training I just did.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Congrats on the new gig as well. That's fantastic.
Hey, thank you. And thanks for having me on. This is amazing. I'm glad I was dressed right for it.
There's really no there's a wrong way you could do it, but you did fine. You did fine.
I have on pants, so yes. Although I guess you wouldn't know, but they're there. You're just gonna have to trust me on that one.
So real quick, Scott, thank you for a few minutes. Thank you for the update. Let people know how they can connect with you, where they can find your podcasts, because you've got more than one, because you know how to do this. So please promote your stuff.
Yeah, so follow me on Twitter. That's where I'm most active, at Mr. Nunes Teach. Also, Facebook, Mr. Nunes Teach. LinkedIn, same thing. But follow the podcasts, tntedtech.com if you want the website, or any podcast player of your choice. Same for Education Today. But that web address is anchor.fm/edtoday. Thanks so much, Chris.
Nice. I will make sure I include those links in the description for this, and thank you so much.
Hey, take care. Thank you.
I look before you hang up, I hope we can definitely shake hands, fist bump, whatever the protocol is.
Yes.
At the next ISTE. So whatever that looks like, I look forward to shaking your hand.
Let's do a virtual one here. Boom. There we go. All right. Boom. Thanks, Chris.
Take care, Scott.
Take care. Bye, guys.
All right. Thank you to Scott Nunes. Definitely go check out his content. He does some great work, and definitely also super congratulations on the new gig. You're somebody who, when I think who could be an EdTech coach, you're on that list, Scott. So excellent job. Good for you. Next up, and we've got about 15 minutes left, and our next guest caller is coming in with a very important message. Then we just got connected today. So I'd like to welcome in Donna Garen. I'm 50-50 shot of getting that right. How you doing, Donna?
I am good. And that is actually how you pronounce it, Donna Garen. Most people say Guerin, but it is Donna Garen. Thanks for having me here.
I moonlight as a public address announcer, so I always know I've got a 50-50 shot.
Excellent. That's awesome. Thanks for having me.
It's my pleasure. I saw your message in the ISTE conference chat, and I thought, this seems like a really good thing that people need to hear about. So I'm going to turn the floor over to you, and please share your message, share what you're doing, and share it. Let's go.
All right, great. Thank you so much. So Yeah, the message I put in the ISTE is for my son's foundation. It's called Kind Heart Jr. So he started about a year ago, and he came up with the idea that he wanted to create these small little heart pillows for kids that were in need if they were depressed or sad or lonely or just needed a friend. And so he created these little heart pillows, and he got connected through some of the work that I was doing with Innovation Lab schools with Kuhn Timmers and Dr. Williams. And so he thought, wow, what a great idea. What if I sold these hearts and I used the money to help the students, the refugees that are there at the school in Project Kakuma. So he went ahead and launched a campaign, and he raised over $1,000 that he did donate to Project Kakuma that they could use right there at the facility. And so he kind of just got sparked by that and was super excited to just go ahead and help people around the world. And so since then, he's pivoted his pitch, I guess, for a little bit, just so that it's something that's applicable right now. And so his thing for this year is that he wants kids around the world to be able to stay connected using technology, because there's lots of kids out there that are not able to access education because they don't have connectivity or they don't have access to technology. And so he's been raising money for the past 2 months for that. And he raised $1,000 so far. And he has one school in particular that he's working with down in Malawi, Africa. And he was able to give them connectivity for 1 year and also provide 6 iPads. And so now he's just on a quest, and he wants to keep on getting as many donations as he can and get as many students connected around the world that he can. And so he is also working with the organization that I work with, which is called Global Youth Media. And we work with students and teachers on 5 different continents. And we use Zoom and other platforms to connect those students. And so he's using that to try to find other schools that might be interested in having him give them connectivity.
Now, Donna, I have to jump in first. Everything you've shared so far is amazing, that your son is raising money and finding these groups that can certainly benefit from the financial support, whether it's through technology or, with the pillows, certainly a noble thing. But, and I did a little homework before I, brought you on this afternoon. So you left something very, I don't know if I want to say very important or very interesting, but how old is your son?
Oh, yes. I should probably mention that my son is 10. And so he's in the 5th grade, and he started this last year when he was just 9 years old. And so I have to say that I am really proud of the work that he's doing. It is all him. It is not me. He is super excited about this work. He gets up early before school so that he can connect with the students in Malawi. He is really dedicated and really enjoys this work. And so he has served to be quite an inspiration to, some of the people on Twitter that I've met and other colleagues and teacher friends of mine. And so that is kind of an important fact I probably should have mentioned.
Yeah. I mean, as a parent myself, I have an 8-year-old and a 5-year-old. They get it from somewhere. So that has to be a testament to you. So pat yourself on the back.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Appreciate that.
So how can people, learn more? What are the websites they can go to? How can they, if they're interested in donating either time or, financial resources, how can people get connected with this cause and, help your son out?
So he does have an Instagram account at Kind Heart Jr., and he also has a Twitter account that I'm kind of in charge of because I know he's not 13. Somebody mentioned that the other day, but it's also at Kind Heart Jr. on Twitter. He can also, he has a website that we actually just finished creating, and that's kindheartjr.org. So people can go on there and they can kind of get a little more familiar with the work that he's done, some of the special projects. Like, for example, last year he was actually named one of the SDG Children Ambassadors for the United States. He's the only one from the United States, actually. So that was kind of a special honor for him. And he's doing some special projects, so you can kind of read about that. And he also has been written up twice already in some, one's called on Medium and one was on Kabloom, which is for young entrepreneurs. So if you want to go on the website, you can check out some of the things that he's doing. And you can always look for me as well. I'm either at DL Guerin 1 on Twitter. I'm on Twitter all the time, or at Global Youth Media. You can also find me on Twitter as well.
That's awesome. And I will include links to everything you mentioned in the description, and it'll be on the description down below for those who are checking it out on YouTube. Before I let you go, since you are the parent of a 10-year-old during whatever we're going to call this period of time in human history, how's he doing with his own schooling right now? Is he remote? Is he virtual? How's he doing as a 10-year-old?
Yeah, well, he has a pretty good outlook, so that's helpful. He did start the year, he was hybrid, and so he was getting used to the hybrid thing, and then they decided to pivot and go all in person. He was so excited. So for about a month, he was all in person, and that was just fantastic. He loved it. And then they decided in the last week or so, and now we are all virtual. So all virtual is the one that he enjoys the least. But I have to tell you that they have done quite a good job at his school. I think they learned from the previous times, and he's doing a lot more interactive things, a lot more human connection, because quite frankly, I think that's what people are missing, is that human connection. And I think that's actually what spurred him to start this fundraiser, because he felt like people still need that human connection. And so he's doing okay. But, it is hard for these kids. It's hard for these teachers. They have a lot on their plate, both teachers and students right now. And so anything that, with Global Youth Media, anything I can do to help with teachers, we also love to, keep teachers and students connected, because I think that's really an important piece right now to, just to amplify voices of students and to let people know that we hear you. And, but yeah, he's doing okay. And, I also have some older kiddos who are doing some college work online. So, so a lot going on these days.
It's certainly interesting and exciting times.
Yes, I keep using the word energizing so that, keeps spirits up.
You know what? I like that. I'm going to adopt that, energizing. I'm going to lose the uncertain part, energizing. All right. I'm going to go with that.
All right. Sounds great.
Donna, thank you so much for a few minutes. Best of luck with everything. And, hopefully I can help a little bit by getting this out to just a few more people.
Yeah, I really appreciate that. Thank you so much for having me. And I'll be sure
You're
to be
very
tuning
welcome.
in. Thank you.
Nice.
Take care.
We're here all week.
Here all week. That sounds fantastic. Thank you so much. Take care.
All right. Bye-bye.
All right. Bye-bye.
All right. Donna Garen. Again, links will be in the show notes to what her son is doing. What an amazing story of, a child making a difference in the world. We always think that our students are capable of so much, and some do that, some don't, some take a little bit longer to figure it out. And here's a story of a young man at a young age who's definitely making a difference in the world and putting out positivity. And we all have a lot that we can learn from that. So if you can help out. The links will be available. So just trying to do my little part to make the world a little better place. All right. So we are just a few minutes away from 11 o'clock. So if you want to hop aboard, anything you want to share or talk about regarding ISTE, you're welcome to do that. If you want to hop aboard, the link is chrisnessy.com/join. And as I give people time to consider hopping on, I do want to thank everybody who has come out to support the live stream this week and those who have been here tonight. It's super. Yeah, we're going to make up words because it's late here in New Jersey. Super encouraging that you give your time. You're watching wherever you're watching, whether it's YouTube, Twitch, Periscope, you're investing in yourself. And, if I put on my podcast PD hat, AJ Bianco and Stacey Linus and I, we're all about bettering ourselves, and podcasting is one way that we do that. So when you listen to this content and you retweet this content, you are certainly helping to spread the good word. So yes, AJ, fist bump right to you. AJ, why don't you call in? If you're on the bike, we could pedal and talk. I'll pretend to pedal. I do actually have potential guests lined up for the rest of the week. I can't announce names because I never know what's going to happen with people's schedules, but I have been speaking to a few people who may be here over the next few nights. So make sure you tune in. And if you got value from this, please promote it, share it. The link to this is chrisnessy.com/live. So please feel free to tweet that and share that out. And I do appreciate everybody who has come out. Maybe you're a new subscriber to the House of EdTech podcast. Next episode will come out on this coming Sunday. And that'll be hosted by Derek Larson. Again, I don't know what the topic is because I'm still sort of on personal break from hosting my own podcast, other than doing cool stuff like this. And coming up at the end of the year on December 20th, I will be releasing with Derek the 7th annual House of EdTech App Smackdown. Now, most people will tell you, I stopped accepting submissions on December 1st, which was yesterday. But if you'd like to contribute to that, go to chrisnessy.com/feedback. You can send an email, you can send a voicemail on that page on the website. And the whole point of the App Smackdown is I turn the show over to people who listen to it in the audience. Even if you're a brand new listener, you're invited to participate. And what we do on the Smackdown is I want to know, here in 2020, in a year of interesting times, but now we're full of more energy. We're going to be energized going forward. What did you love about education technology here in 2020? What's your favorite app, your go-to app, your favorite tech tip, tool, something that you can share about EdTech here in 2020? Go to chrisnessy.com/feedback. Send me a voicemail because I produce an audio podcast. I would prefer to have your voice be on it. If you send me an email, I'll read it. And I'll tell you right now, you take your chances with the impression that I will do of you if I read an email. So if you want it to be accurate, send me your voice. Let me know what you've loved and gotten value from, or your tip, tool, app recommendation, whatever you want to share. It's not a competition to go back to the beginning of this show. Not a competition. If you do submit something, please be sure to let us know who you are, where you're from, how to connect with you, what your role is in education. And that'll come in episode 170, which will be released on December 20th, 2020. And again, that's the last episode I do for the calendar year. Then I'll take a few weeks off and I will be back hosting the show full time in probably mid-January 2021. So there you go. I hope you all have had a nice time tonight. I hope that you come back out tomorrow night, and that'll do it. I will finally end the show the way I normally do it, and that is using technology isn't difficult. Just give it a try. And there's a break where I will edit out everything I say now, but super huge thanks to everybody who came out in the chat. Would love to, say goodbye, type it in. Would love to know who's still here and, checking it out. So hope everybody has a great night. And yeah, thanks for coming out. I really appreciate it. Hope to see you guys out again tomorrow and the rest of the week. Peace out.